Well guys, now that most people have finished playing through the Indigo Disk DLC for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, it's time to start talking about what could be happening next when it comes to mainline Pokemon games, as we're all kind of expecting there to still be a 2024 Pokemon game, mostly because a lot of the credible leakers that we have been hinting towards it, and we've had a lot of different things that we've heard about going into the Indigo Disk even about what it could mean for the next game. And so in this video, we're going to be talking about the stuff that we've learned from the Indigo Disk and the theories that people are now having about what it could mean for 2024's Pokemon game. Now real quick before we get started, I just want to let you guys know that I am having a special giveaway for the holidays where I'm giving away a digital download code for any Nintendo Switch game or DLC, and all you gotta do to enter is click the link below in the description or the pinned comment, and you can have a chance to win any Nintendo Switch game or DLC that you want, whether it's the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Boosters Course Pass or Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, Mario Wonder, any Nintendo Switch game that you want. The giveaway does end right before Christmas, so definitely be sure to click the link below and enter for a chance to win. Now before the Indigo Disk DLC came out, the two big theories that we had for what the next Pokemon games were going to be after the Scarlet and Violet DLC was one of them was something that was going to happen with the Unova region, and that it was going to have something to do with Gen 5, and another one being that it was going to have something to do with Gen 2 and the Johto region, and those were pretty much the two big kind of teams that people were on for what the next thing was going to be. Now, unless you've never played through Generation 5 before, I think everybody was easily able to tell that the Indigo Disk DLC was a giant love letter to the Unova region. Like, we're talking like even the Wild Battle theme, the Trainer Battle theme, so many themes from Unova were remixed inside of the Indigo Disk DLC. There was one part where like the route theme was directly like embedded into some of the area music that played through the terrarium. It was very nice to see a lot of fun Unova references. And it's from all of this Unova love that people are now starting to branch off into two different theories for what this could mean for 2024's Pokemon game. And the first one is that people are thinking that this is kind of like a deconfirmation now of Unova. Like, because this DLC panders so much to Unova and there's so much love, this is Game Freak's way of showing Unova some appreciation. And because of that now, it means that the next thing is not going to be related to Unova at all, and they're probably going to do something else, whether it's going to be somehow maybe even more Scarlet and Violet DLC, which I don't really believe in, but I guess some people think that there's going to be like another DLC pack with like part 3 and part 4. I don't know if that's really a thing that they could do, but that's what some people think, or that it's just going to be like Johto now and it's not going to have anything to do with Unova. And then you've got the other theory, which is the one that I believe more in, which is that this DLC was actually setting up a lot of stuff that we're going to see now in a future Unova game that's going to be coming out next year. Personally, I feel like it was very intentional why Game Freak decided to have the Blueberry Academy take place inside of the Unova region, and I also believe that it just makes a lot of sense because if they do have something else that's going to be planned after, having it connect really nicely with this DLC from Scarlet and Violet moving into the next game would just be really amazing. So I feel like it's got to be intentional and they're planning something bigger than just trying to give a lot of love to Unova out of nowhere for some reason, and that's because the next thing is not going to be related to this at all. And especially with how we've had multiple credible leakers like Riddler Khu and the Chinese uncle on the Chinese forums all leaking that there's going to be something happening with the Unova region after the Scarlet and Violet DLC, I just feel like it makes a lot more sense now to believe that that's probably more accurate and that we're going to see something along those lines, and it's not going to be a traditional Gen 5 remake. I think a lot of people are hearing Unova and they're starting to assume that it's probably going to be just like a standard Gen 5 Pokemon Black and White or Black and White 2 remake. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about something that's happening from the Indigo Disk DLC, and it's going to lead up into a future game which is like a new game, but it's still going to take place in Unova. And I'm going to go more into detail about exactly what that could be like inside of this video, but that's what I'm trying to say here is like if you're thinking that we're talking about like a standard traditional remake of Unova, I'm not expecting that to happen until after Generation 10 if they decide to even do it after this. But I know some people are just saying like, oh, it's too early for Unova remakes or it's too early for Gen 5, and you're right about that, but that's not exactly what we're talking about here. And so all of the leaks and rumors that we've gotten from these credible sources about the next Pokemon game all pointed towards it being like a futuristic game that's still set in the Unova region, and it's going to be taking place after the events of the Indigo Disk, which actually does make a lot of sense, and I've already made videos kind of going over that information when it did come out, so I'm not really going to be reiterating all of that type of stuff inside of this video again. So instead, there should be a little eye up in the corner right now if you want to go ahead and click or tap on that to go and watch the entire playlist that I have for all of the videos talking about the 2024 Pokemon game, but I'll also have it in the outro of this video and the description description if you want to go and watch it after you're done watching this one. And so let's talk a little bit about the Unova Timeline and where exactly this 2024 Pokemon game could fall into. And so the very earliest thing that we have in the Unova Timeline is the adventure that you go on in the very first game, being Pokemon Black and White and the start of Generation 5. And so this is the adventure that you go on as either Hilbert or Hilda, going through the Unova region with your friends Sharon and Bianca, and you're going down getting the gym badges from the gym leaders, taking down Team Plasma and all of that. So that is the first adventure that you have in Unova. Then after that, we have Pokemon Black 2 and White 2, which are sequels to that game that take place 2 years after the events of Pokemon Black and White. So inside of this, you play as a new trainer, which is either Nate or Rosa, depending on which one you pick, and then you go through the Unova region again, but now there's some new cities, there's some new gym leaders now, like the character Roxy and Marlin, and you basically go through the Unova region again, still with Neo Team Plasma that's a part of the region, and you go on that adventure to stop them and from what they're doing, but it's basically a Unova region that takes place 2 years after the events of the original game, and even the characters that you've met from the original game have now grown up to have different roles now, like how Bianca is the professor's assistant and Sharon has now become a brand new gym leader. Now this next thing I don't have any solid proof for, but if I had to take a guess, I'm predicting that the Indigo Disk DLC and the Blueberry Academy would have to take place after Pokemon Black 2 and White 2. And the reason for that is the only kind of like little piece of evidence that I have for it is that there's one area in the terrarium which seems to be very similar to the nature preserve from Pokemon Black 2 and White 2, where if we compare them right here, you can see that it pretty much matches identically, like even the shape of the dirt, like the little lake that's kind of in the corner here, and even the Haxorus. You can find a static Haxorus in this part of the terrarium, which is a reference to the shiny Haxorus that you could find here in Pokemon Black and White 2. So basically what a lot of people think now is that it's possible that this area could actually be the nature preserve from Black 2 and White 2, but in the future it got turned into this terrarium and it's now a part of the Blueberry Academy. And basically what all of this is leading towards is whatever the next Pokemon game is going to be for 2024, it is going to be taking place somewhere here, so it's going to be Unova, but it's going to be the most futuristic or modern game, as it's going to be the latest game in the timeline. And honestly, I feel like this would be so sick. We've already seen the terrestrializing phenomenon reach the Unova region as it's a part of the Blueberry Academy, but what if now it just becomes like a part of modern Unova itself, and we just see people in the Unova region using the terrestrializing phenomenon? What if the Paradox Pokemon are now going to be involved in there too, as that's also another thing that was also hinted at? So it's very possible that we could just be playing in a futuristic Unova game now, and it's possible maybe even these characters could be older from the Indigo Disk. Like, what if Briar now becomes like the professor and she's going to be much older, researching Pokemon and everything from Terrapagos, and now she's going to be the one handing out your Pokemon to you when you start your adventure there? What if Lacey becomes older and she's going to be like an adult character and she's now like a gym leader now for the Driftwell City Gym, as of course we know her dad is Clay, but what if Clay now retires and is just working in the mines, or he's just like an old person now inside of his house or something, but Lacey is his daughter and now she's the one who's running the gym there and she's like an adult and a whole gym leader now? I feel like this could actually be a really cool premise that they could do for this type of game. And there's already some pretty interesting tidbits inside of the Indigo Disk DLC, like Briar talking about how she wants to stabilize the terrestrializing phenomenon in other regions outside of Paldea. There's also things about, like, I think one of the characters mentions Drayton's grandfather, which now we can probably assume is Drayton. And so it would be really cool to just see these characters again, but we would be playing as like a new trainer in the next game, so it wouldn't be like our trainer, but Briar could even be talking about the adventure that she went on with our trainer from Scarlet and Violet into Area Zero. But this new trainer that we play as is going to be hearing about those stories from her and going through and seeing like adult Lacey, and maybe like Drayton becomes a part of the Elite Four. Like, it would just be really cool. Maybe even Kieran and Carmine could be there, because like we know that they went to school in the Blueberry Academy, which was in Unova, even though they were from Kitakami. So like it would be cool to just see those types of references, and maybe that is what they're kind of building towards inside of the Indigo Disk. And so this type of idea would really match the rumors that we've been hearing about it being like a futuristic Unova game, where it's basically going to still be a game in the Unova region, kind of like Pokemon Black 3 and White 3, but it's not actually Pokemon Black 3 and White 3. Like, I'm sure Team Plasma is not going to be involved in it, and if they are, it's just going to be like a faint reference or something, and is probably not going to be like a main character in the story. Like, all of that stuff is still going to be like a part of Black 2 and White 2 and the original Black and White and all of that, but this is just going to be like a new adventure with a new trainer going through the Unova region, but just now taking place much later after all of these things have happened from the Indigo Disk. And I just feel like it would be so cool, like especially if maybe some of the gym leaders are still going to be around from Pokemon Black and White and Black and White 2, but a lot of these characters are going to be replacing them. Like maybe there's just going to be the new characters like from the Blueberry Elite Four that are going to be a part of this game, and maybe we're still going to see some of the like past familiar characters for people who did play the old games, or maybe you're going to see like Skyla is just going to be like a pilot now. Maybe she's just going to be a pilot and she can actually take you to some place inside of the region, and maybe she'll talk a little bit about her time when she was still a gym leader. Maybe we're still going to see Elisa, and maybe she's still going to be like a model, but she's not actually going to be a gym leader anymore. So I feel like something like that would be really cool. It would be awesome to see, because a lot of the people who played the original games would still be able to see some amazing fan service, but for the new generation of people, it would just be like playing a whole new adventure of Pokemon, and I feel like it would be really, really sick. Now, maybe some of you guys forgot, but even in the summer of this year, like way back in July, we had this very interesting tweet that came out from Riddler Khu where he said here, one of them grasps the key of the lore, and it's not Lacey, and it's a big spoiler for the next game after Sudashi, which is the Indigo Disk. Which one is it? So even in the summer of this year, he was still teasing the 2024 Pokemon games after the Indigo Disk, and he basically says here, one of these characters, it's not Lacey, holds the key to the lore and is going to be a big spoiler for the next Pokemon games after the Indigo Disk. And so even after playing through the Indigo Disk, I can't really think of which one of these characters would make sense. Like, it's not like one of these characters does anything crazy where you could be like, oh, they're definitely going to be relevant again in some future game. So I can't really tell you. We just know that it isn't Lacey according to Riddler Khu, so it's either going to be Amarys, Drayton, Crispin, or Kieran or Carmine. If I had to take a guess, I'm thinking maybe Crispin, and the only reason for that is because after you kind of play through the Indigo Disk, once you beat Champion Kieran, you can actually activate a special conversation with Crispin where he talks to you in the League Club Room, and he says that even though that you beat Kieran, now he's basically going to be kicked out of the Blueberry League in terms of Crispin, because Kieran is going to be demoted now to an Elite Four member, and since there can only be 4 of them, the weakest member currently would have to step down, and apparently he is the weakest one, so now he's no longer going to be a part of the Blueberry League. And I don't think that he's going to become like a villain or anything, but I'm just saying, like, because now he's not a part of the Blueberry League in terms of being like an Elite Four member, maybe he goes back to like the Unova region because he's from Burbank City. Maybe instead there he's going to be pursuing more into just focusing more on battling himself, and maybe he can actually become like a gym leader or something like that. I don't really know, but that's kind of the only guess that I have. They also mentioned something about like Drayton's grandfather, which is probably Drayton, but like I can't really see him like having some type of relevance unless it's just a game where he's now going to be a gym leader, or maybe he's going to be an Elite Four member or something. Amarys too, like I'm not really sure. Maybe Carmine, like if she's going to be helping with Briar, and maybe she's going to be like Briar's assistant, and then Kieran kind of just like wants to start over and become your friend again after the end of the Indigo Disk. So I don't really know who else could really make a lot of sense. So I don't know about this. It is something that I'm still thinking about, because I'm sure once the next Pokemon game comes out, this is all going to make a lot of sense, as that's pretty much what happens with a lot of the stuff that Riddler Khu says. So I guess we're just going to have to wait and see. But yeah, there you go guys, that is pretty much all of the speculation and the theories that we have right now for what the next Pokemon games could be after the Indigo Disk DLC. If you guys enjoyed the video, definitely be sure to click that like button, and also subscribe to the channel as well, as I'm going to be having more Pokemon videos in the future, so definitely be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on that. Comment down below and let me know what you guys think about all of this. How do you guys feel about this theory? Do you think that the next Pokemon game is going to be some futuristic Unova game? Do you think it's going to be something else? What do you guys think about everything? Definitely be sure to comment down below and let me know. But if you don't have anything to say about this, just comment your favorite emoji down below for some engagement. I would really appreciate it. Go follow me on Twitter at @Aero so you can be featured in videos, and also join my Discord server as well. We've got a bunch of people in there who are always talking about Pokemon and Smash Bros and Nintendo, so definitely be sure to join that. And remember to enter my giveaway as well. I'm giving away a free digital download code for any Nintendo Switch game, and all you gotta do to enter is just click the link below in the description or the pinned comment. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching.